The room was dim, lit only by the flicker of firelight. As I stood in the center, wearing nothing but silk that clung to my skin like heat itself, the silence between us pulsed like a second heartbeat, and I could feel their eyes on me, heavy, hot, possessive. My husband sat on the edge of the bed, jaw-clenched fists resting on his thighs, watching me like he didn't know whether to stop what was coming or surrender to it. And then they moved toward me, both of them, tall, broad shadows made of desire and dominance, their hands reaching out to touch where he once claimed me, but now gave me away, not with words, but with the way he didn't say no. The first one traced his fingers along my neck, down to the swell of my chest, and the other stood behind me, his breath brushing against my hair, as his hand slid around my waist, pulling me back against his body. My knees went weak as they surrounded me, as they studied every inch of me, like I was already theirs. The silk was peeled away, slowly their hands sure and unhurried their mouths, finding skin with hunger and heat, and my breath caught between a gasp and a moan, because I could feel how much they wanted me, and how much more I wanted to give them. The firelight danced on their muscles, as they moved with the kind of confidence that came from knowing exactly what a woman needed. Their hands, their mouths, their bodies, all on me and my husband, still watching, chest rising with every sound I made, every time I begged without words. One lifted me and carried me to the bed, laying me down like I was a prize, and the other followed, kissing a trail down my body, as if he owned every inch. And still, my husband said nothing. Still, he watched as they spread me between them, one at my lips, one between my thighs, and my body burned with a pleasure so deep, it shook the core of who I was. They made me feel like something divine, like something untouchable. Even as they touched me, everywhere, they took turns claiming me, marking me, with touch and taste and need, and I didn't care. Who saw didn't care that he was right there, because in that moment I belonged to the night, to the fire, to the two men who devoured me, like they'd waited a lifetime to do it. The night did not end, it only deepened, as they turned me over, as they explored me, like a secret they'd just discovered. My body no longer mine, but theirs to taste, to tease, to torment, with aching, slow intention. And behind my parted lips, there were no words, only need, only moans that echoed off the walls and blended with the sound of their breath, their growls, their hunger. One gripped my hips, pulling me into him, while the other kissed my back, my neck, my shoulder, with lips that burned hotter than fire. My skin was slick with sweat and pleasure, my legs trembling, but they didn't stop. They didn't even slow. They pushed me further, made me feel things I didn't know I could feel, made me cry out, made me beg without shame. And the more I gave, the more they demanded. And still, my husband watched, his eyes dark, his breathing shallow, his fists now unclenched on the sheets, as if surrendering to the storm around him. And then one of them pulled me into his lap, made me ride the rhythm of his body, as the other knelt beside us, his tongue finding places I never knew could be worshipped. They touched me like they were sculpting something sacred. Every curve, every shiver, every gasp made them want more, and I gave it all, because in their hands I felt seen, I felt alive, I felt wanted in a way I had never known before. They whispered things against my skin, things that made me melt, things that made me burn, and I reached for them, both tangled in limbs and lust, lost in a haze of desire that refused to end. Time fell away. The fire burned low and still. They held me still. They touched me still. They claimed me. And when at last they pulled back, leaving me bare and breathless between them, I turned to see my husband standing now, His eyes, unreadable, his silence still unbroken. And I should have felt guilt, I should have felt shame, but all I felt was heat, because I knew I would do it again, because he had let them, because some part of him wanted it too. And as they pulled me close, one on each side as they kissed my skin with promise, not goodbye, I knew I was no longer his, I was theirs, and he had watched as I became exactly that.